The red lionfish is an ambush predator. It moves very slowly and often sits perfectly still, waiting for small fishes to approach too closely, at which point it lunges aggressively toward its prey. At the same time, it extends its jaws forward, creating a large amount of suction, and easily swallowing the prey whole. This species is not a picky eater and will eat just about any fish that it can swallow, limited only by the size of its mouth. As it grows larger, the size of the prey that it can attack and eat also grows larger. Some individuals have been observed slowly cornering prey with their large fins before attacking. In its natural geographic range, the red lionfish is eaten by large bony fishes and coastal sharks. In the western Atlantic, it has few, if any, natural predators. In both basins, it uses its venom-filled spines in an attempt to guard against predation, not to attack prey. Male red lionfish are somewhat territorial and court females that enter the part of the reef that they defend. After successful courtship, a male-female pair reproduces by a behavior known as broadcast spawning. In this method, the female releases her eggs and the male releases his sperm in the water column, above the reef, at the same time. This behavior increases the likelihood that eggs will become fertilized and decreases the likelihood that fertilized eggs will be eaten by egg predators at the reef surface. Red lionfish are eaten in some places but are not targeted heavily for human consumption. In the past, they have been captured alive, in large numbers, for display in public and private aquaria. They are naturally rare and have likely been depleted in some areas, but a more serious consequence of their live capture is the accidental establishment of large populations outside of their normal range. In the 1990s, one or several individuals were released by pet owners in Florida, USA, and over the course of the past 20 years, the red lionfish has become a very common, destructive invasion throughout the western Atlantic Ocean. Outside of its native range, there are few natural predators that can tolerate its venom. It also eats a wider variety of prey and lives in colder latitudes in the western Atlantic. It reaches densities up to 10 times higher than in its natural range. On some Caribbean reefs, it is now the most common medium-sized predator. This invasion threatens coral reef food webs throughout the Caribbean Sea and other food webs in temperate areas. Though some eradication efforts are underway for the red lionfish, we have likely passed a point of no return with respect to this species' invasion of the Atlantic Ocean. Scientists suspect that it will never be fully eliminated from that region and may, in fact, continue to increase its geographic range as a result of new invasions. Leafy seadragons are very poor swimmers and rely on their camouflage to avoid predation. They are relatively large compared to their closely related species and reach lengths of up to 1 foot, 30 centimeters, long. Leafy seadragons eat small, plankton crustaceans but are small enough themselves and have sufficient vision to see and attack individual prey, unlike large filter feeders. Their heads are relatively large compared to their very small mouths, so they are able to concentrate enough pressure at their mouths to easily suck in their prey. Like in seahorses and pipefishes, male leafy seadragons care for the fertilized eggs. They do not have a specialized pouch like male seahorses but instead carry the eggs under the tail. There, they remain exposed to the elements but safe, and the male provides them with necessary levels of oxygen through a specialized, nearby organ. Newly hatched leafy seadragons receive no further parental care. They reach sexual maturity in approximately 2 years. The leafy seadragon is a popular species in public aquaria and its trade is tightly regulated. There are very few people licensed to collect leafy seadragons, and a more significant threat to their populations comes from their accidental capture in fisheries targeting other species. Scientists consider this species to be near threatened with extinction. Without continued careful management of the human activities that affect leafy seadragon populations, the species could become more seriously at risk of being lost. Caribbean reefs with large numbers of predators, like Nassau groupers, are known to be healthier than reefs with no predators, so this species may represent an important part of the reef food web. During the majority of the year, Nassau groupers are reddish-brown in coloration, with vertical light bars along the head and body. During mating, however, males become black on top and white below and females become almost solid black. Nassau groupers feed by swallowing their prey whole, they do not chew. They use their very large mouths to create enough negative pressure to suck in whole fishes or lobsters, and they swallow them quickly and efficiently. Nassau grouper reproduce in only a few places and during only a few months each year. These fish always spawn immediately after the full moon during the winter months, when they form very large groups called spawning aggregations. Throughout its entire geographic range, there are less than 100 known spawning aggregation sites where Nassau grouper reproduce year after year, and historically these aggregations included hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals reproducing together for a few days before returning to their home reefs. Individual Nassau groupers are known to travel several dozen miles and further to form part of a spawning aggregation. At the aggregation sites, these fish reproduce by a method known as broadcast spawning, where females release eggs and several males release sperm into the water column above deep reefs all at the same time. This method increases the likelihood that eggs will become successfully fertilized and that fertilized eggs will not be eaten by egg predators on the reef surface. While they were historically very common, Nassau groupers are now considered to be endangered by scientists. The behavior of forming dense spawning aggregations, where all the individuals from several square miles meet in one place, makes them an easy target for fishers. Even fishers who use relatively low-impact methods, like hook and line fishing, have proven an ability to lower Nassau grouper numbers to dangerous lows. These fish utilize the same few locations and same few days for spawning every year, so their presence is quite predictable. Furthermore, once a spawning aggregation has been fished to zero, scientists fear that they may not ever recover. Unfortunately, several documented aggregations throughout the Nassau groupers range no longer form. While considered endangered, Nassau groupers are still fished in many places around the Caribbean, but scientists and conservationists have been successful in having them protected during their spawning season, in an effort to help this valuable and ecologically important species recover.